Hello from Jonathan and from me. Welcome to a new week on Anglia Tonight.
First tonight, it was an evening that began with a few drinks at a nightclub but ended with an innocent man accused of rape.
Sarah Jane Hillard from Basildon in Essex told police that she'd been attacked and even attempted to claim compensation until her story was exposed as a lie.
Well, today, Hillard was given a suspended jail sentence for perverting the course of justice and wasting police time. But afterwards, Grant Bowers, the man she labelled a rapist, said he's still paying the price of her greed and deceit.
Well, we're now joined from Basildon by our reporter Lorna Ramsey. Lorna.
Well, when police were told about a rape at the toilets here at Basildon railway station, it was an allegation they took very seriously indeed. But it soon became clear that they were all lies. Now, the woman at the centre of those lies was in court today as her role turned from victim to criminal. Sarah Jane Hillard was the woman that cried rape. But when she left Basildon Crown Court this morning, she had nothing to say. Sarah, is there anything you'd like to say? What about the effects on genuine rape victims? But while Hillard was free to walk from court, the man she falsely accused of rape is struggling to get his life back together. Grant Bauer, who's 19, tells me he had to move out of his flat in Basildon because of threats made against him.
Since the start of the case, I've had a lot of grief from it all. I had people kicking down my flat doors, people spitting at me in the streets and shouting stuff out to me in the streets.
This all started in July 2008, when Hillard told police she'd met Grant at this nightclub at Basildon Festival Leisure Park. She claimed they had shared a taxi and he attacked her in the toilets of Basildon railway station. But CCTV footage from Colours nightclub in Basildon told a different story. It showed Grant and Hillard kissing and holding hands before leaving. They walked to Basildon railway station where they had consensual sex in the toilets. 5 days later, Grant was arrested and interviewed, and just over a week later, police dropped the case when Hillard's lies were exposed. Hillard was given a year's sentence, suspended for 2 years for wasting police time and perverting the course of justice. She also has to do 300 hours unpaid work and pay £2,000 in costs. Grant's dad says the punishment is no deterrent.
My son could have gone away for 10 years for this, if her lies had been believed. But she's walked free. I know she's got the community service. I know she got the suspended sentence, but that to me ain't enough.
In sentencing, Judge Christopher Mitchell told Hillard, the fact is that false allegations of rape have a terrible knock-on effect when women who have actually been raped make complaints. This case is not a precedent at all for future cases of women who make false allegations. There is no doubt that you have suffered because of the publicity this case has generated. The court heard Hillard has suffered some considerable abuse of her very own. She was attacked on her way to work by 2 men and had the word bitch written on her car. Her defence barrister said there's also been some very unpleasant comments left on her Facebook site. One person wrote that they wish she had been raped so she could understand what genuine victims had been through. Those who do work with genuine victims are concerned about the impact these kinds of cases can have.
One of the biggest issues with survivors of rape is the feeling of being believed, and when you see on the media that false allegations have come through and how devastating it's been for the falsely accused, it really puts up another barrier for people to come forward and hope to be believed. So it's very damaging for both parties.
This case has ruined a young man's life. Police also fear the wider legacy of this case may be that real victims of rape are less likely to come forward.
Well, let's head back to Lorna in Basildon now. Lorna, let's just talk about how rape allegations are dealt with. Very few actually get to court, and there are very few convictions as well when they do get there.
Yes, that's right, and cases like this make the police's job even more difficult. A report last year highlighted how few allegations end up in conviction, and the government thinks that as many as 95% of rapes are never reported to the police. But of those that are reported, only 6% end up in conviction, and that's the lowest rate in Europe. And that's why the professionals who deal with genuine rape victims find cases like this so damaging.
Lorna, thanks for that. Well, the Prime Minister's been in the region today, stepping up his campaign ahead of the forthcoming general election.
Last night, the PM was in unusually candid mood on ITV1's Piers Morgan's life stories.
So did that carry on during his visits to Great Yarmouth, Ipswich and Wattisham Air Base in Suffolk? Well, Malcolm Robertson went to find out.
You could tell a special guest was about to drop in. In a hangar at Wattisham, soldiers who'd been in Afghanistan and those yet to go prepared to meet the Prime Minister. It was a relaxed and smiling Gordon Brown here on the second leg of his visit to Norfolk and Suffolk. The same Gordon Brown who less than 24 hours earlier had his personal and private life exposed in an ITV interview with Piers Morgan, where he talked candidly about the death of his baby daughter.
We had a weekend where we just knew that she was not going to survive, and she was baptised, and we were with her, and I held her as she died. It was, you know, Sarah and I just we found it very difficult because, you know, it was our first child and she was such a beautiful baby, and you couldn't see from anything that there was something so fundamentally wrong. But she'd suffered a brain hemorrhage, and we only found out after a week.
As Mr. Brown chatted to soldiers and thanked them for the work they were doing, political analysts wonder whether this was part of his election strategy, opening up to the public. You've guarded your private life very much in the past. You've opened up today. People will say that's electioneering.
I've guarded the life of my children, and you do not see photographs of my children, and I want to make sure that they have an ordinary childhood and they're protected from publicity. But I've made a choice to be in politics. Sarah's made a choice to join me in politics, and I think it's right that we answer any questions that people have. And if people have any questions that they want to ask me about what I'm trying to achieve or what I've done, then, as I said, I'm an open book, and people can make up their own minds.
An Apache helicopter squadron from Wattisham is currently involved in Operation Mushtarak against the Taliban. Those soldiers still in Suffolk chatted freely with the Prime Minister today.
He was surprisingly relaxed, actually. Obviously the first time I met him, but he came across very well, so it was actually nice to meet him in person.
This afternoon I spoke to students at University Campus Suffolk and asked whether they liked this more open approach.
Being cynical, I think I see it more as a PR exercise. I think anything he does, I tend to feel there's a PR system behind him pushing that forward.
If I saw him on there and he got upset about his daughter, you can relate to the fact that he's a human being, so I think that may win him votes, yes.
I do think it does lose a bit of respect, you know, as politicians they shouldn't be involved with these chat shows anyway.
As well as Wattisham, the Prime Minister also visited Great Yarmouth and Ipswich, both Labour marginal seats. It seems the election bandwagon is already rolling. Malcolm Robertson, Anglia News, Suffolk.
It certainly is. Right, next, the Fresh campaign